All right, so in section 4.9, we're going to do another quadratic equation example, and it does involve income or revenue that's generated, but this time it's by a nightclub. It's not because they're selling a product. So here we have a trendy nightclub. They have a $10 cover charge, and typically they have 540 people every night in the club when they charge $10. And as they've surveyed their customers, they found out for every dollar that they would add to the cover charge, they would lose 20 patrons per night. So if they added $1, in other words, made the cover charge $11, they'd lose 20 people per night. If they made the cover charge $12, if they added $2, they'd lose 40 patrons typically in a night. If they added $3 to the cover charge, if the cover charge became $13, they think they'd lose 60 patrons per night. So the cover charge started as 10. But if they add X $1 increments, so plus 1 or plus 2 or plus 3 or plus 4, X is the $1 increase in cover charge. So if X was 10, that would mean the cover charge was $20. If X was 8, that would mean the cover charge was $18. So this is if they add X variable, $1 increments to the cover charge, what's the new expression? So this is the new cover charge. It started at 10, and we're going to add either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, a dollar amount. So now let's look at number 2. If they add X $1 increments, how many patients will they lose? Well, if X is 1, they're going to lose 20 patients. If X is 2, they're going to lose 40. Patrons, not patients. Different person, right? If X is 3, they're going to lose 60 patrons. So how many patrons would they lose? They're going to lose 20 times X, patrons. X is how much they've increased the cover charge by, and multiply that by 20. So that's how many patients they will lose. So what will be the new average number of customers? That's going to be 540, and they're going to lose, so we're going to subtract 20x. So remember when we did revenue was price times number sold? Well, here, this is going to be the cover charge, X plus 10, and this is going to be the number of patrons, number of people that come into the club at that cost. So write a function R, which is the revenue. So we'll just call it uppercase R. That's what the instructions say to call it. But that's the revenue based on how much we have increased the cover charge by. So that's going to be how much the cover charge is times the number of patrons. Cover charge times number of people. All right, so the cover charge we have decided is 10 plus X, and the number of patrons is 540 minus 20X. This is how much money they will bring in based on how much they add to the cover charge. If they make the cover charge $16, X would be 6, and it would be $16. 540 minus however many customers they would lose for cover charge being $16. So this is my revenue function. So they're asking me to find R of 0. R when X is 0. So this means when they don't increase the cover charge. That's going to be 10 plus 0 times 540 minus 20 times 0. 10 plus 0 is 10. That's the starting cover charge. 20 times 0 was 0. That's times 540. So that's going to be, the revenue is going to be $5,040 if they do not change, if there's no change in the cover charge. If the change in the cover charge is 0, their profit is going to be $540. So that's currently where they stand right now. Question number 5. Question number 5 wants us to find the x-intercepts of your function and describe what each tells you about the nightclub. Okay, so the x-intercept is when the function equals 0. So we have 10 plus x and 540 minus 20x. This is my revenue function. And the x-intercepts, those are the values for x when the function equals 0. So we're going to use the 0 property here. If this times this equals 0, that either means 10 plus x equals 0 or 540 minus 20x equals 0. Because whenever you multiply something by 0, you get 0. So for this statement to be true, either the first factor is 0 or the second factor is 0. All right, so let's find the values for x, where if we were to graph this, it would cross the x-axis. All right, so let's subtract 10 from both sides. We want to get x by itself. X is negative 10. We're going to disregard that one in a moment. And if we want to solve for x, let's subtract 540 from both sides. So negative 20x equals negative 540, and divide both sides by negative 20. So the other x-intercept is 27. So the 2 points where this parabola, if we were to graph it, would cross the x-axis are at negative 10, 0 and at 27, 0. Okay, so in other words, this one wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense. That would mean that they totally drop the cover charge. Well, if they totally drop the cover charge, 10 plus negative 10, if they don't have a cover charge, they're not going to make any money at the door through the cover charge. Or if they made it a $37 cover charge, no one is going to come. They'll have no customers there. All right, so if all has gone well, the graph of your revenue function would be a parabola that opens down, and since parabolas are symmetric, the highest point on the graph is halfway between the x-intercepts. Use this fact to find the highest point on the graph. Okay, so in other words, we want to find the average of negative 10 and 27. The way you find the average is you add them and divide by 2. Negative 10 plus 27 is 17, divided by 2, which is 850. So if we were to graph this parabola, I'm just doing a sketch here, I'm not putting it in the calculator. If here is negative 10, and here's positive 10, and here's positive 20, and here's positive 30, this is going to touch the x-axis at negative 10 and touch the x-axis at positive 27 and at 8.5. That's going to be the maximum value of my parabola. Okay, so since parabolas are symmetric, the highest point on the parabola is halfway between the x-intercepts. Use this fact to find the highest point on the graph and describe in detail what it tells you about the cover charge. So we're going to find our revenue function when x is 850. Here's my revenue function. 10 plus 850 times 540 minus 20 times 850. All right, so this is going to be 1850 times, okay, so what is 20 times 850? That's 170. 540 minus 170 is 370. So our revenue, when our cover charge is set to 1850, is going to be 6,845. That is our maximum revenue. Our cover charge would be 1850, and our maximum revenue would be 6,845. Less of a cover charge, revenue comes down. More of a cover charge, revenue also comes down. So that's what that means.